Hello again, everyone. This is a GoFundMe contribution. Like I said, if you make a contribution of any size to the GoFundMe link in the description box and you want your video made, and you go right to the top of the list. So here we go. Dear Ollie, thank you so much for all the work you put into making these videos and sharing your personal story of growing up with narcissists in a sick family dynamic. I cannot tell you how much you've helped me in the last year when I felt finally ready to say enough is enough to my twisted birth family. I could write endlessly, and that's why I haven't so far. I don't know which parts to include, which to leave out, which are important, and what exactly I want to focus on, since there is so much and none of it seems to be overt incidents of abuse. What I feel I went through was more like a life of lies, half truths, triangulation, denial, manipulation, sideswiping, ignoring, and abandonment. Okay, I'm 44. My mother and father had two children, myself and my brother, of which I'm the elder by 18 months. They divorced when I was 9, but their marriage was always horrible. Lots of fighting. My dad was a workaholic, and when he was around, he would yell, chase my brother and I around, threatening us, hit us, pinch us, etc. Nice guy. Anyway, my parents' separation. Anyway, after my parents' separation, my mom started drinking. She also went back to work and began dating. At first, she hired a housekeeper to make my brother and I dinner, but we didn't like the woman she hired, so my mother threw a huge tantrum and decided that my brother and I were on our own. God forbid. God forbid she had to find someone else, or and then you're always on your own. And that's what she did to you at a young age. She lets you know it's either my way or you're on your own. And that's the fear we live with a lot of the times, is this fear of being on our own. But and at the same time being made to feel that we can't be on our own. There's nothing we can do on our own. From then on, we were latchkey kids, morning, noon, and evening. She was rarely home, and when she was passed out on the couch. I did a lot of caretaking for us. Soon my mother started bringing men by, leaving porn around the house, talking on the phone in front of my brother and I about her sexual fantasies. Well, my parents stayed married and did that anyway, but it's destructive. It is so destructive. I would be woken up at night to her coming home drunk and having loud sex, and then sometimes I hear one of them vomiting in the bathroom beside my bedroom. Wow, you just sparked a memory for me. My mother was a constant puker in the morning. That's how you knew she had a good time. If my mother was driving the porcelain bus the next morning, you say, "Oh, it must have been a good time last night." I was only 9 years old, and it really scared me. This had been the mother who had been a Sunday school teacher and sewed our clothes. Now she was something else entirely. If she was being what she actually wanted to be in life. Very selfish. My dad, for his part, visited my brother and I every other weekend for dinner and a movie. He wanted to reconcile with my mother a couple months after he left, but she did not want him to come back. There was a huge fight with smashed bottles and screaming over this fact. Shortly after that, he broke into our house while we were out and wrote all over the walls. Rational. I helped my crying mom clean it the best I could, and I remember being devastated and feeling guilty about it since my dad had used my brand new set of markers, I only had hours before begging my mother to buy for me. This whole situation was hellish, but it didn't last long since one night at 11 p.m., mom came home with the man that she is still married to this day. He seemed nice. He was a single father with two kids of his own. We moved into his house with him a couple months later, sharing rooms, the two boys together, the two girls together. His kids were older than my brother and I, and it was clear from the get-go that they were going to get priority in all things. Funny side note, mom likes to go on about how hard she had it as a single mother when she was only alone for about 7 months. It was single mom for 7 years. I was a single mom for 7 years. But when I would try to talk about my struggles, She would make it clear that I had it easy in comparison to what she allegedly went through. And that's for one reason, and one reason only. Bad things happen to narcs in dog years. You understand? So for every 1 year in normal people's lives, if it happens to the narcissist, it's worth 7 years. Do you understand? Because everything that happens to them is either the best thing that ever happened or the worst thing that ever happened. That's why they can drag it up and throw it at you for years, because they got to make it worse than it is. Bad things that happen in the narcissist's life, the narcissist's life to them, happens in dog years. I should say right now that there wasn't a lot of money in this new blended family unit. My stepfather was a barber and my mother a secretary. Thing was though that my mother got a very good child support from my father, and also my mother's parents had quite a bit of money. Money was a verboten topic in our household, and it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I reflected on why my stepfather might have been so keen to move my mother and 2 kids in so quickly. I'll tell you why. Because if he moved in there, she wouldn't have gotten the child support. That's exactly why. That's exactly why. If he moved into her house, which was probably your father's house too, she loses the child support. Upping his finances by at least $1,000 a month and getting a housekeeper and sex partner to boot must have seemed like a good deal for him. Like I said though, this never occurred to me until much later in life. Your mother did it to keep the child support coming in. So this new living arrangement seemed okay at first, in spite of the conflicts that this type of situation would obviously bring. Thing was though, is that it became their world, and my brother and I were treated as appendages that just unfortunately couldn't be cut off. You couldn't be, because they needed you there to get the child support money. Money that should have went to you and your brother, but never does. An example of this happened in the first couple of months that we lived together. I had always had bad headaches as a child, and one day I experienced a double vision and excruciating head pain. My mother took me to the hospital where they ran some tests. Once we got home, I laid down on the couch and my mother was going to bring me water and aspirin. I watched though as my stepfather held my mother back from caring for me, saying, "She's faking it." Oh, I used to hear I was faking it all the time as well. You're always faking it. I could not believe what I saw next. My mother, who had been on her way to comfort me, put down the glass of water and aspirin and walked away with this man's arm around her. This might sound dramatic, but I burst out loud into a wail, feeling completely abandoned and not understanding why this man seemed to want to think of me as a devious liar. When I cried, it just got me into more trouble. But now here's the pinnacle example of how I always felt that my stepdad wanted to get rid of me and my brother. Get rid of my brother and I. It's a horrible story and one that haunts me to this day. I was pregnant at 22 and my little brother was still living at home at 20. I visited them out of the blue. When I got there, my parents were sitting on the couch in silence. I knew something was wrong when I asked. They said, "Your brother is upstairs in his room. He's taken pills and wants to kill himself." I ran upstairs. He was delirious. I saved his life that day. I really never let myself process how sick that whole situation was until recently. Yeah, because the reason why they wanted him to die. He was 20. They probably weren't collecting child support on him anymore, or you. So he's useless to them. So the best thing to have happen is have him kill himself. I am retroactively furious about that. These people sat there waiting for the pills to do their work. Even as I type, I feel panic in my chest about this. I know this is a huge deal, but I'm frozen by it. He still talks to my mother every day and hasn't talked to me in years. His life is a huge mess. I sent him a link to your channel, but haven't heard back from him. They probably destroyed him. They destroyed him. They were going to let him die. Fast forward to present day. It's been many years since our family was a family in any sense of the word. Due to triangulation and geography, none of the kids talk to each other. We hear stories through my mother, and aside from very occasional gathering over the years, we don't know each other. My older stepbrother became a raging alcoholic, liar, and worse in his later teens. Well, what would you expect with a father like that? He smashed up 3 cars in the span of 2 years and lost his license. He married, then divorced shortly after. He's never held down a stable relationship and still drinks. He's been in and out of the hospital and was almost homeless. He's almost 50 years old. My parents will rush to his aid whenever he needs them. Then there's my younger brother, whose history, minus the car crashes, is exactly the same. My parents do not rush physically to him when he gets into trouble. However, I think they have sent him money over the years. Recently, and very oddly, he telephoned me after years of silence to announce that he was gay. He was delirious on the phone, sounded hammered. I talked to him for 2.5 hours, and then when I reached out to him the next day to see how he was, he totally blew me off. My older sister has 5 kids and takes after her dad, my stepfather. She works as a maid at a fancy hotel with famous guests and leverages relationships. That's all I want to say about her. Me, ironically, I'm the only one who has a higher education, has never taken one dime for anyone inside or outside the family, stuck around in the same hometown, helping them when they needed a hand, and I'm not an addict. Raised a successful child who got through university debt-free, working and saving hard for it. I have a lasting marriage. I currently run my own business that I built from the ground up. But of course, according to my family, I'm the crazy one. They go through long periods cutting me and my husband and daughter off from contact with them. You need to cut yourself off from them permanently because these people are just drug addict, drunken poison. Why are you even talking to them at this point at all? At all. You should not have any contact with them, period. And I don't mean for a week or a month. They will stop talking to us years at a time. One time I tried to call her after about 6 months, and she had company at her house. She pretended not to know who I was. A big show for the guests. How humiliating. I used to blame myself entirely. I have cried and worried so much about this over the years. How do I explain to my child that we will not be seeing anyone on her birthday or Christmas? How will I get along without my family? What example am I setting for my daughter? She has observed, of course, that I can't seem to get along with people, and aside from saying, your grandma really hurts me, I am scared to drag too much out into the light. I torture myself thinking, what can I do to make it right? What is it that I did that bad? How terrible of a person must I be for them to want to go through such lengths? You're not. You need to be honest with your daughter and say, they're bad people. They're very bad people. And that's why we don't deal with them. And you do have a family. We are your family. Okay? Family isn't about numbers. Family is about quality of the people you keep around you, not how many not how many you got. And that's what narcissists don't understand. Narcissists are impressed with quantity over quality. But then I noticed something, 2 things actually. One is that I was always the one to try and apologize, and my apologies were never ever good enough. Second was the suspicious timing of when they chose to get angry and cut us out of their lives. Example, before I met my husband, I was a single parent working full time. One day I got a call I will never forget. Children's Aid left a message on my machine saying that there was reason for me to remove my daughter from her current babysitter immediately and never take her back. I was terrified. My mother happened to call me a couple hours later. I told her what the Children's Aid said. First words out of her mouth were, and I quote, I hope you don't expect me to babysit. Oh my God. By the end of that, we were on another cutoff period. Yeah, my mother would always do that when I was with my ex-wife. If we needed something or something was going on. But I wouldn't even ask. If something was going on, I was coming home late from work and my wife couldn't, or my ex-wife couldn't. Well, I hope you don't expect us to do. All about them, all the time. All the time. It's always like that. Kick me when I'm down, then if I complain, I'm using an excuse to stop talking to me. Anyway, Ollie, this was an epic letter, probably way too long and disjointed to read. Believe me, it's only the tip of the iceberg. She does it all, the smirk when I'm hurting, the stealing, the entitlement, the predatory search for dirt on people. But my question, if you do read this, is it her or is it the stepfather? It's both of them. It's both of them. Doesn't matter, they're bullshit. It's both of them. You're her blood, not the stepfather, but she's choosing him over you. And look at the pattern of behavior. Look how she acts when you need something before you even ask for anything, even though you weren't going to ask. It's both of them. You're dealing with two narcissistic parents. It's just the way it is. I understand that. It's both of them. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's both of them. Honestly, I can't tell. What I do know is that my grandfather, with all the money, still have all the money, and I know for a fact that my mother counted on him being dead by now. So I wonder if my stepfather is still hanging on for the payday he thought he saw her when he met her, possibly. He never wanted either my brother nor I, and he succeeded in getting rid of me at least. And almost got rid of my brother all those years ago with the attempted suicide. I figure when my grandfather dies and leaves my mother the money, either my mother will die or my stepfather will. It seems like a battle to the end for a couple of $100,000 inheritance, if it is even that much. I honestly have no idea what the man has and do not care. Thanks for the insight. Okay, well, thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your story. And again, your question is really, well, first thing, remember, everything that bad that happens to the narc happens in dog years to them. So keep that in mind. So they're always going to have an exaggerated sense of everything, whether it's good things or bad things. Secondly, it doesn't matter. It's both of them. It's both of them working together. What mother would leave her child on the couch and because when a stepfather says, "Oh, she's faking"? How do you fuck you, dude? Come on, man. It doesn't matter. It's the both of them. She's your mother. She gave birth to you. She's the one who's supposed to protect you at all costs. They're both narcissists and they both enable each other in their own bullshit. The best thing for you to do is cut them both out completely. Don't call them. Don't acknowledge them. Don't get after them. Don't talk about them. Don't do anything. And eventually they're going to come looking. And I'm telling you, the one thing that they've never dealt with is you actually rejecting them. And when you do that, wow, wait, hold on to your hat. Because you're the bad guy anyway. No matter what you do, you're going to be the bad guy. You need to cut these people out of your life and cut them out forever. Your parents, your stepmother, your mother, your brother. I don't know what happened to your dad. I don't know if you have a relationship with him or not. All of them. They're garbage. What do you need them for? You have your own business, you have your own family, you have your own successes. What are you hanging on to these people for? Especially since you have nothing to do with your grandfather's inheritance anyway. Let them have it. Get out of the way. Because when your grandfather dies, you know what's going to happen? They're going to be fighting for the money and they're going to tear each other apart. Let it happen. Be out of the way. Be gone. Because when he dies, they're going to want you around. Because then they're going to need you there to distract all the bullshit for the money and all the other shit that's going to go on. They're going to need their scapegoat around you. Don't do it. Don't be it. Stay the hell away from them. Cut them out forever. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much again for your contribution. Thank you so much for your story. It wasn't really hard to read at all. I really appreciate it. For everyone else who's watching, thank you for watching. Any tips of advice you can give this person would be appreciated. We all have similar stories like that. We've all dealt with stuff like that. These accusations of faking it, and we've been there. We've done it. But remember, okay? Overall, in this, remember, Bad things that happen to the narc happen in dog years to them. That's why they just carry it on forever and ever and ever. It stay no contact. So again, if you enjoy this channel, please consider making a contribution to the GoFundMe link in the description box. And if you want your story made into a video, you go right to the top of the list. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Take care. Bye.